said, you know, we can call out a lot of guys, but you know, I'm open to anybody that wants to step up. At 135, I've mentioned it before. You know, a title unification match. Jorge Linares is the #1 guy that stands out the most. If that's unavailable, at 140, you know, you got title unification matches right now coming around the corner between Crawford and Ndongo. You know, that would be a great matchup. But we all know the promotional, you know, problems sometimes don't allow fights to happen. So I'm not gonna be waiting for anybody. You know, I think look at the turnout tonight, and look at the media and everybody more buzz about my fight with Adrien Broner than people talking about Crawford and Ndongo. No disrespect to the champions, but let's just make it, you know, be honest. You know, and I'm not gonna be waiting for someone that the promoter might not be willing to work with. You know, if that's unavailable, then I'm looking at other options, even 140 or even, like I said, even 147.
And I'll say something because Mikey won't say it. Mikey's not a guy who does what his team says to do. You know, Mikey didn't spend 2.5 years, you know, in a lawsuit to do what his team says to do. Mikey doesn't talk like this, so I'll say it for him. You know, Mikey makes his own decisions. He runs his own career. You know, and that's what he waited 2.5 long years to do. So at this point, you know, we'll all sit down, but you know, who Mikey wants to fight is the guy that he'll fight.
Mikey, back here. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
One of the best fighters in the world is you. One of the other best fighters in the world is Lomachenko. He's fighting in a couple of days. You two together probably is one of the best fights in boxing. What do you think about fighting Lomachenko despite the promotional?
Listen, I think that would be a great matchup based on styles. I hear he is willing to fight me and has mentioned that he wants to fight me. His manager reached out to my brother asking, you know, maybe we can build that fight up. But I don't see him making the move up to 135. You know, he's fighting a guy at 130 who just came out from a loss at 126. You know, I mean, that doesn't show me he wants to move up to 35. If you're serious about it, like I said, they can come, you know, give us a phone call. You know, we can bring them on to Showtime. You know, we can definitely have those discussions. I think it would be a great matchup at 135. I ain't coming down to nobody. I'm not gonna wait for anybody either.
Right here, Mikey, Terrell, 5U 360. You're in a confusing situation.
Where are you at?
Right here,
okay.
Right here. Linares has the Diamond Championship at 135, correct?
Well, okay, to clarify some of that, okay. He held the WBC lightweight title until he was out for injuries, which forced him to vacate the title that Dejan's Cannon picked up. When he returned, the WBC granted him status of emeritus champion, and he holding WBC diamond title, which is basically like a mandatory position to fight me.
If you really want to clarify, he didn't want to fight Dejan.
He didn't want to fight Dejan.
He didn't want that fight.
He didn't want the fight.
I mean, he ran away from that fight, and then I know this because I promote Dejan, and then this man demolished Dejan. So, I mean, honestly, Linares didn't want that fight, and I'm sure Linares isn't really aching to fight him either.
But now you are technically that Diamond Championship. You're technically Terrence Crawford's mandatory, correct?
That could be depending on the guidelines that WBC puts out. What they normally do is they give a voluntary optional match. So I would have an optional if I wanted to fight somebody else. Crawford would have a voluntary matchup, you know, if you wanted to hold the title or not, and then eventually they match each other up.
Hey Mikey, congrats on the win.
Thank you.
After your long drawn-out battle with Top Rank, if they do allow you to get into the ring with guys like Lomachenko and Crawford, would it be a little sweeter to be one of those guys and kind of stick it to them?
Look, if I take a fight with them, there's no grudge. I know this is business. I know how business is done, and you know, I learned from those 2.5 years. I learned how they handle business. They want to fight. If they want to put one of their guys, you know, they're gonna come to us, and we can work together. I don't have a problem with that, but I'm not gonna come and kneel down to whatever terms they want to, you know, give. It doesn't work like that. I'm in a different position now. I think, you know, these last few fights show, you know, the fighter that I am. And not necessarily that it would be a sweeter victory for that reason, but I think just showing the fans that I'm a better fighter than those fighters that you mentioned who are held up here, and me beating those kind of guys, that's the victory there. Not who's promoting them or who's promoting the show. It's beating the guys that people think are on top of the pound for pound list or on top of the world and beatable. So I know I could beat all these guys.
Hey, what's up, Mikey? Right over there, Andy.
Yeah.
While back in a couple of videos where Ellie kind of jokingly, humored the idea of fighting Keith Thurman. That's a guy already on this side. It's not there's no politics in the way. You've mentioned 47. I'm just wondering, as a fan, at the end of the day, is Keith Thurman somebody you would get in the ring with?
I would do it. And honestly, if it's a good fight that the people, media, and the network want to, discuss, I'm open to discussing that too. He's a great champion, great fighter. He's a unified champion of welterweight, so that'd be a great matchup. Great accomplishment. Big challenge. But that's what we want. That's exactly the kind of fights that we want. We want a big challenge. And if I want to be remembered in the sport, those are the fights that you got to take. I could take easier fights, fighting top contenders, but, fairly easier fights. But that really doesn't do anything. The fans won't recognize you, won't remember you. It's not going to help build a legacy.